this stupid little recorder shit. God damn it. Whatever. Anyways, I guess this is the start of our movements lessons. But before we move on to anything, let's deal with the specific setting that you want to have turned off so that you have perfect control over your movement. A lot of these I just referenced from other videos, so please mind that. Now, first off, let's look at these basic settings. Always have joystick auto run and auto sprint turned off. Do not have them on, have them turned off, because if you keep sprinting automatically, you might get stuck or move in a way that you did not want to go. And since, okay, now that you have them turned off, now we can start with very basic movement techniques. First thing I know, Mr. Wakmo, is that you do not like doing slide cancelling, but you have to get used to it, because, for example, look at this. If I slide, do not cancel the slide. Look at what I have to do in order to get good aim on the opponent. But look at what happens when I slide cancel my movement. Oh, I got it. Like this. If I keep cancelling the slide, I end up moving to the location that I want to go to. And why the hell is the goddamn movement not being very fluid right now? Anyways, see, it's very easy to aim if you can just cancel the slide whenever you need to cancel it, instead of just doing it like this, like what I normally see you doing. Another disadvantage of sliding is you're crouched. You cannot sprint if you're crouched. You cannot slide if you're crouched. You cannot jump if you're crouched. If I ended up like this, wait, not like this, like this, how the hell am I supposed to jump? I'm not supposed to move. I can't really move if I'm doing it like this. So what we're trying to avoid is being stuck or moving way too slowly that the enemy is too easy. It's too easy that you become a target. So in order to avoid that, you have to understand that slide cancelling is a very, very important and basic rule that you have to get used to and practice a lot until you're completely used to it. In practice range, just literally just doing this, doing that, keep sliding and cancelling, while also making sure that you're also tracking your opponent properly. See? Another thing, when it comes down to movement means nothing without aim. So when you're moving, always try to make it so that your crosshair is as close to where you think the opponent is at as possible. If I keep doing it like this, for example, I slide cancel and then the enemy is all the way over here, then it takes me a longer amount of time, and I also run out of space to aim. So whenever you're moving around, always try to keep your crosshair as close as possible to the opponent before you actually do any shooting, so that you have as much space to move your aim around, while also developing a good habit of good crosshair placement. Especially when it comes down to bigger scopes, like, for example, this. If I have my scope way over here when I slide cancel, and then only then do I move it, I have barely any space to actually move my aim. And if the enemy, for example, they slide as well or jump around, then it becomes really difficult for me to actually hit them. But in the case of these dummies, since they do not move, it does not matter. But when it comes down to real gunfights where enemies are trying to move around for dear life and try to kill you, you will have to adjust your movement accordingly. Now that we're past that and we're now going into more advanced movements, I understand that you prefer just doing this simple slide jump, but it's normally not enough, especially when you're dealing with good opponents, since they're literally just gonna follow where you're moving. They can easily predict where you're going to go, since especially after you jump, you can't really adjust where you're gonna go, so they're gonna know where to shoot, where to aim when you land, and you're not going to be able to do anything about that. Especially since I noticed that you commit too hard after you begin shooting, and only begin moving if the enemy starts getting out of your aim. A good habit to have is that if the opponent seems like they're pretty decent, do not just commit like this. Always try to figure out ways to get around them and confuse their aim so that you take as little damage as possible. and also to prevent other opponents from doing such things as third party. Since you have really don't want to be getting shot in the back or in the side, like in that EMT game where you got shot in the head with an M82. And since you're trying to avoid that, you're going to have to use movement a lot. Even if you think that you're just in a 1v1, you have to really begin using that movement. And now, since we're about done with just the basic slides and slide cancelling, see, slide cancelling helps a lot with aim. If I were just sliding like this, it seems like it's easy, but normally it's not, especially if the enemy is moving left to right. You see, it's not easy to perfectly center my aim if I don't slide cancel. When it comes down to how you want to slide cancel though, like when you do the slide cancel, it's more of like intuition. You'll really just have to practice and figure out how you exactly want to press the slide button again in order to cancel it, since there is a small loss of momentum beforehand and after. And also, I didn't teach you this yet, but there is such a thing, a term called ego challenging. I think in your CSGO days you have probably already experienced this, where you shoot an opponent and they suddenly go around the corner and then they suddenly go back and look at you in order to kill you. Like for example, imagine this guy has shot me and I run away. This is cover, right? Instead of just running away, continuously running away and then hoping that he chases me so that I can shoot him, instead of that, I will try to do something which is going to surprise and confuse him so that I can probably kill him, which is an ego challenge using movement. Instead of doing it like this, like for example just doing like this, it's extremely risky, especially if the opponent is good, because they might have just slid here, slid there, out of your aim. So what you want to do is, after you get shot, you maybe think about for a second, decide whether you want to or not, depending on if you have enough health or if you're confident, and then you have to ego challenge it like this, or you can this. Anyways, that is what ego challenging is, and it is very important, especially in BR fights where you might lose if you just wait for the enemy to push you instead of you doing it yourself like this. You have to understand that not every fight is you just running away or running away after being shot first. You also have to know when to retaliate in order to get the jump on the opponent, since normally they won't be expecting you to be doing this. Normally opponents just expect you to keep running away and not actually wait for them so that you can surprise them like this. Now, after that, we're going to move on to a little more of a set of advanced movements. You can see my joystick here and my inputs. All of my inputs, actually you can see them since I have the pointer turned on. Look at where my D-pad is going right now. You see that I'm moving it only on the upper side and not backwards or too much to the sides. This is important because when you're minding movement, especially jumping and sliding, you can actually control exactly the angle of your slide and your jump by simply moving your D-pad. See? I'm not moving my camera, but my slide is going in a specific direction because I'm moving my joystick towards that area. Same goes for jumps. Look at this. If I just move my D-pad forward and then jump, this is what happens. No movement, nothing happens. But look at what happens when I see. It moves sideways depending on how I want it to move. This helps a lot, especially if the opponent is like also moving around, or if they're already shooting at you. Instead of you just going like this and beginning shooting them and strafing, because something like this, you will normally just move, strafe, and it's gonna be really annoying like that. So what you should be doing a lot and getting used to is just not simply shooting and strafing, because that's not going to be good. Same goes for sliding. You shouldn't always just slide or slide sideways or anything. Sometimes you want to jump and then unaim, jump, unaim, jump, unaim. Since you're also using one-tap ADS just like me, it's pretty easy to do, since all you have to do is jump sideways, aim, jump sideways, and aim, while keeping track of your target the whole time. Since this movement technique is really good at throwing people's aim off. as you can see. Imagine if it was me, and you're going to have to deal with me doing this over and over to you. How are you going to follow my movement? See, you know, if you do that to opponents as well, they're also going to have a lot of trouble with trying to follow your movement. But when you're doing this, you have to very much focus on the fact that you cannot move it, the D-pad, too much to the left or to the right, because what ends up happening is that you do not have any momentum to go off of. You have to make it so that it's on the upper parts of your D-pad, so that when you're moving, you actually have momentum, and you have to move a certain amount of distance, so that the opponents cannot just literally track you with their aim assist. Now after that, we're going to move on to a slightly more advanced movement that you're probably not going to bother with using unless you're very confident about it, and that is what do you call it? Jump strafing, I guess. Slide strafing. Slide jumping in strafe. I don't really have a name for it. But essentially what you do is you use what you learned earlier from my pointer about the D-pad and how you can control the direction of where you go, and you also jump in the opposite direction or also in the same direction as where you wanted to go. So for example, like this. See? I'm sliding in one direction, but I can also jump in the other one immediately. While this isn't exactly what I wanted to make happen, since I'm not doing it quite correctly, I'm also still in the process of practicing it in order to master the tricks. See? It's more about timing than it is about execution. You have to really get good at understanding the specific timing like this. See? It's not that easy to do, but but it is a very good type of movement that you want to use when for example, you're fighting two opponents at once, or if the opponent that you're fighting seems to have a better gun than you, so you have to really pull out all of the stops so that you just don't die. For example, see, it's not that easy to do. That's a problem with it. But it's not impossible. It was a lot of practice, I guess. Even someone like me who has a lot of experience in the game cannot just quite do it properly. It takes a lot of practice to do. So honestly, I not really want to use this too often, since this isn't what I normally tend to try to do. But I'm showing it to you just in case you want to learn more advanced movement, and this is also an option. Anyways, normally you do slide jump. We review, I guess we recap. Normally slide jump, which is something that you already do. But something that you don't do at all pretty much is slide cancelling. Remember, slide cancelling is a very important and very basic rule of gunfights in Bloodstrike, and it also helps you to master how to peek out of cover and go back into it at the same time without overshooting your aim. Then we go on to jump strafing. Oh yeah, you can do jump strafing, but I think I've never seen you actually try to jump at all during gunfights. Like, you only do this. So please, as you watch this and begin minding what you want to practice next, please understand that you will very much want to learn how to jump. And I mean, the way that you're playing anyway, with your current setup, you can do it pretty easily. Like this, it's pretty easy to do. And try to incorporate it so that you become used to it. Like, you're not going to have to use it all of the time at the very least, since not all situations call for a jump. Sometimes what you really want to do is slide. So jumping is more like, do you feel like you can slide? For example, you already began shooting. Sometimes sliding is the only choice to do. Is that I'm starting to lose my words. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is sometimes you cannot slide anymore because, for example, you're committing to a gunfight and you know if you slide, you're probably going to die because you stopped shooting at the opponent for too long. So what you are going to have to end up doing is jump. Either you shoot and then jump while shooting, or you shoot and then you cancel your shooting for a split second in order to do a jump sideways. That's how it is. I guess for now that's it. since whoa, it's 15 minutes and holy shit, it's 800 MB. Anyways, that'll be it for now, Mr. Wakmo, and I'll probably try to improve on this later on. So for now, this is it, Mr. Wakmo. Bye bye.